We're back, guys. My name's Alex. My co-host Eileen sitting right next to me, and this is Straight to the Chicane podcast. We are back with a brand new season. It is the 2025 F1 season, back in Australia.
Yep. For the first time since 2019.
No.
Season opener.
Season opener.
Yes. Not like we haven't been there.
No, we've been there, but the season opener, and I like it that way. I think it should be that way.
It feels back to normal.
It does. This weekend brought us a lot of stuff. Rain, sun, heat, rookie drivers, crashes, everything in between.
Mm-hmm. Lots of drama.
Lots of drama.
A lot of buildup. I mean, of course, going in, it's F175, so it feels like everything is updated.
Speaking of updated, let's talk real quickly about the graphics, the new intro.
That's what I mean, like, we got an overhaul of everything. Yeah. Like, the top 3, like, graphic. We got the graphics even for, like, their little radio messages. Like, everything is different.
Everything is different. And they do that every year, I feel like.
They do a couple of tweaks.
Sure.
I mean, obviously, there was some mishaps. FP1, the McLaren logo was not the right logo. It was the old logo.
It was the wrong color.
They just clipped the wrong McLaren symbol. It was the dark red or dark orange instead of the actual. But they did fix it.
Midway.
Yeah. I will say we did not like the fact, and I think a lot of people out there did not like the fact that you had no idea the difference in between drivers, the times, anything throughout the race. Like, we found ourselves watching it live, watching the app, doing all sorts of stuff. So they finally figured it out, but it definitely was an inconvenience, especially considering how much drama there was during the race. Like, we needed to understand.
Sure. Yeah. So for me, the intro graphics, I don't necessarily mind them. What I didn't like is that it's all arranged by team until it gets to where Red Bull is, and then it's just Liam Lawson, and then it's the next 2 teams, and then it's Max by himself.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
I don't really like that.
I don't like that either. I think the reason behind it is probably that there's so many new drivers. Like, that's the only thing that I could think from a justification standpoint, why they changed it from driver's order to constructor order and then the champion at the end.
Yeah.
It was a little strange.
Yeah.
Like, it felt like you didn't really get it. And then it was like, oh, wait, they're doing constructors. And then it got to Red Bull because they were P3 last year. And then it's like, oh, wait, where's Max? Just kidding. He's carrying everything. He's going to be the last.
Right.
He's a team in itself.
I mean, as of right now, he's going to be leading that team. Clearly, it's going to be a one-man team for a while.
When has it not been?
When Daniel Ricciardo was there?
Yeah.
And for a brief moment when Sergio was there?
A brief moment. Like,
his first half of the season.
I still can't believe Sergio wasn't on the grid. So this is the first time in 14 years that Sergio hasn't been on the grid.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of fans out there that are not happy about that.
There are. So speaking of people on the grid and not on the grid, let's talk a little bit about rookies. This year is 5 rookies.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is debatable whether you want to call it a rookie.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about Formula 2 and the whole leading series that lead up to Formula 1. This is the first time that they've had multiple F2 winners, F2 champions, and people right from F2 go right into it. It's pretty incredible. I know I've been telling you for a while about Ollie Behrman. You know, I kind of watched him in F3 coming up.
And we watched him last year.
Year, right? And so I kind of had a feeling he was going to be good. And then there was always talk of Kimi Antonelli.
Always, yeah.
Right, as a child prodigy and the next big one. And honestly, after this weekend, based upon results, he did really good.
He did.
Almost as good as pretty much on the level of what Lewis Hamilton did his first race.
Yeah. No,
so
pretty impressive. That's for sure.
Yeah, but so on the other hand, we also had Liam Lawson, who has technically 11 races under his belt in Formula 1, but still considered a rookie because he was never really on
a full season. Yeah,
right.
He's never on a full season.
So like, do you consider him a rookie or no?
I think we do, and I think they put it well this weekend because they didn't include him in any of the rookie stuff. But I think they're calling him a quasi-rookie.
Yeah, I heard that term.
So, I mean, I like that because obviously, number one, I think his big challenge is he's moving into the A team, so he's moving into Red Bull. So on top of not having a whole season under his belt, he also has like the pressure of, number one, moving into Red Bull. But the big thing is going against Max Verstappen. So, but I would lump him in there if I had to
As a rookie.
as a rookie.
Yeah, I do too, because he's never raced in certain tracks,
Right.
right? So this is his first time, I think, here, or maybe not here, but like a couple of them coming up, I know that he's never been to,
Yeah.
for sure. He's never been on the team for the full ride. He's always been a reserve driver or someone in the background, right? So, yeah, I call him a rookie until he can really start putting some points in the go board. After practice, what we saw, he had some mistakes. You know what I mean?
It was not a good weekend for Liam Lawson.
It was not.
Like, I would say, so leading into this weekend, we heard a lot of chatter.
Sure.
And no surprise, there's always chatter coming from Helmut Marko. Like, he always has something to say.
Helmut Marko, he likes to grade. He this year he graded all the rookies.
Yes. So
that weren't even part of the Red Bull team or the
Well,
driver
that's
association. Like,
that's because his drivers are like A drivers.
okay, of course.
So, going in, he rated Bortoleto the worst, who was the F2 champ last year. He said Jack for Alpine was not even going to make a full season. And this was like, at the end of the day, like going in, I think there's been a lot of controversy around Liam getting the seat anyways. Personally, I feel like Yuki should have gotten the seat, and not really sure what their thought process was. We got a little bit of insight from Drive to Survive, and it was like, on one hand, Christian's saying one sentence where it's like, Liam's hot-headed and he's not really ready. And then literally, and I know it's the way they cut it with Drive to Survive, but then it's like, oh, so we decided we're going with Liam Lawson. And it's like, okay, I'm just confused. So I think Yuki's in a little bit of his revenge era too, which is great for us. But to compare it to the fact, like I hear a lot of people comparing Yuki didn't deserve the seat because he's hot-headed. To compare that to Liam, what we've seen in the 11 races, like last year, I get it. Like he has nothing to lose other than trying to prove himself to get a seat. But like flicking Sergio off in Mexico, getting into an altercation with Alonso in his first race, taking the seat last year. Like they kind of have the same temperament when it comes to like their attitudes.
And you're not wrong. And they also added Isaac Hajar. I'm saying that right? To their, it's the Racing Bulls team, but it's still a Red Bull seat, right? And he's been known for hot-headedness all the way through his junior career,
a lot
too.
Of crashes, too. Yeah. So I kind of expected that, for him to have a tough first race weekend. But yeah, I mean, I think Helmut Marko, number one, like, we don't need to hear all of his thoughts. You know how you have that one person in your life that you're like, just keep it to yourself.
He got
reel him in.
He got it right one time with Max. You know what I mean? Like he's always had, he's been a part of the Red Bull thing, so he's always had good Red Bull drivers, but he got it really right the one time, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing is like I don't think that he got it right. Max just got it right.
Him and his team and his dad and them forged the champion that he is, right? So Ollie Behrman, another rookie, we kind of briefly talked about him. He didn't have a really good weekend either.
Yeah, it was a heartbreak.
I think he did like 12 or 14 laps for practice.
Yeah.
For the first two practices. Didn't even get out for practice 2. They got him into the car with like 2 minutes left, and the car wasn't ready. So,
and then for practice 3, he was like the first driver out and crashed
before even a full lap, or he was on a hot lap. So he did one warm up and was on a hot lap.
Yeah.
So yeah, he had a tough weekend. Ended up starting from the pit lane, if I'm correct, which is just unfortunate because I really see potential in him as well. Isaac Hajar, that's someone I kind of wanted to bring up kind of way to the very end of the rookie segment here.
Listen, we were feeling the Racing Bulls going into,
they were fast.
They were fast. Looked good in qualifying. I mean, one of them out-qualified the Ferraris. And I think that they looked better in practice than Red Bull, which is crazy.
Yeah.
They were like, did you build the right car for the right team? But, they looked good. And he looked really good, too. Like, out of all the rookies, he wasn't, like, having any spins, any issues during practice. Qualifying was, relatively decent. He just missed out on Q3. So he put himself in a good position. And then no one knew what was going to happen on Sunday.
Oh, I think we all kind of knew leading up it was definitely going to rain.
Yeah, definitely. Just got progressively more and more.
I think we knew that there was probably going to be carnage based upon what we watched at the sprint race for the F2 race the day before and everyone crashing.
In not wet conditions.
And not wet. It was dry that day. And then the F2 main race not even going on, happening. They canceled it after a couple laps behind the safety car. And that was all carnage too, pretty much. So I think we were pretty much expecting a little bit of that. I think we got a lot more than we expected. I think there was 14 cars that finished, so 6 cars, right?
Yeah.
Crashed out. But yeah, so Isaac pretty much, what was it, lap 1, lap 3?
No, it was the formation lap.
Oh, yeah, it was. So they aborted the first one because of him. Because that's right. He didn't even.
No, he came out of the turn and he went to, fire up the tires and just lost control.
Yep.
We've seen it happen. I compared it to George when he was at Williams.
He was, and that was very similar.
It was under a safety car. He did the same thing and he put it in the wall. And it was so heartbreaking. I mean, you think about these rookies who are coming in, they've achieved their dream. This is it. They're like, oh, I'm ready to go. How much pressure they feel going into their first race to perform and then throwing in these conditions. How stressful. So
yeah, so he was visibly upset. He wasn't hurt or anything like that, but he was upset. He got out of the car, he kept his helmet on, didn't, helmet down, and had a long, kind of a decent walk back to the paddock.
Kept his helmet on.
Yeah, you could tell he was upset though.
Well, he was crying, visibly crying.
Right.
You could tell.
So what we did see though is Lewis Hamilton's dad pretty much ambushed him right away, gave him the fatherly advice, condoned him, helped him walk back, and probably gave him some words of encouragement, I'm guessing.
Yeah. Anthony Hamilton, the man that you are. I think it was a very heartwarming thing to see. I mean, we've seen, obviously, Lewis's dad console him for other, obviously 2021,
right.
The championship battle. And he was interviewed after the incident and they were like, well, why did you do it? And he was like, listen, I just saw him and I knew that he needed some fatherly, support. And even after, he hugged him and, Isaac was hugging him back. And I'm sure he said some great things. And he told him, you're a great driver. Listen, don't let it get you down because it easily, and same thing with Ollie, going into a weekend and having tough stuff like that happen can easily make you feel really defeated.
Yeah, you need to have a good team around you.
Yeah.
You need a support system because you got people way worse than us that are in the media.
Keyboard warriors.
Yeah. I mean, you can go on social media right now, just like you said, keyboard warrior, and people are like, oh, they're done. He's done, the worst. Right. So, I don't think you have to believe any of that. You keep the team and the people that you share close and, hopefully Isaac has a good team, but,
I think it was special for him too because Lewis is his hero. He looked up to him.
You saw the photos all and videos all.
Yeah. When he was in Mexico FP1 last year, oh my God, I'm on the same track. I'm gonna wave to Lewis, and then all the build up from this weekend.
Every time I see him, I want to shake his hand or we shake hands. Yes.
Yeah. So I think that was definitely extra special. So I mean, in a really tough situation to have that was I think a great moment of the weekend.
It was. Am I missing any more rookies? Have we talked about all the rookies?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, it was challenging for them. Only 2 finished the race.
Only 2, and 2 finished we got 1 that finished 4th.
And 1 finished last.
And 1 finished last.
But I will say, I do want to preface that, okay, so Ollie Bearman, obviously, we saw him 1 race last year in a Haas, 1 race last year in a Ferrari.
Yeah.
Much different situations. Obviously, when he was in the Haas, it was same conditions, but worse, because Brazil last year was insane.
Yeah.
But we know he can perform. But we came into this race weekend expecting that Stake F1 team was going to be the worst team by far after testing, right? So coming in to practice is definitely looking like Haas. I mean, they were struggling all weekend. Obviously, despite Ollie's challenges, Ocon finished right ahead of him in the race.
Yeah.
And they were dead last.
Yep.
Ocon just seems to always have this luck where he goes to a team like Alpine last year, first race, dead last, both teams or both drivers. So we'll see. I mean, hope for the best for Haas, but definitely not a great weekend. for them overall.
No, they had a tough weekend. But at least they both finished compared to other teams that,
True.
they took some damage throughout the weekend with Ollie having to rebuild the car and take a new transmission and things like that. But I don't think it was as bad of other situations compared to, they at least got some running in. Ollie got some wet weather raining in. So, I mean, that's a positive. 57 laps of weather, right?
Yeah.
Also, though, it wasn't just rookies having issues. We had a couple of veterans. We had Alonso go out. He
late in the race.
And then we also had Carlos Sainz go out
early in the race.
Yeah. And so I think the tricky conditions were for everybody. I saw a lot of people slipping. I even saw Max, who is usually the best in this kind of weather. Like as of the last 3-4 years, he's the number one wet weather guy. Yeah. He even made a few mistakes.
I know. I think everybody did. Everybody had some challenges. We saw the McLarens, obviously. It was one of those races where you go through everything. Like, it's wet, then it's not wet, then it's wet again. Like, what do we do? Like, if there was a lot of flashbacks to previous races, I feel like.
Yeah.
Did we make the right decision? And McLaren actually, they made the right decision this year.
For the most part, there was that, yes, they made the right decision.
Going to Inters.
And you heard.
And Lando, who was having flashbacks to probably Russia.
Yeah. Yes.
And he was like, I'm going to Inters, immediately.
And, they also made the right call within a few meters of the pit entrance.
Right.
To go and switch the tires up. And it was the right call at the exact right time.
Yeah.
I wish some other teams would have made the right call at the right time too. Or stayed out on the tires that they were on.
Ferrari?
Yeah, I've been neglecting it. I don't want to bring them up yet, but we're working our way there.
We are.
Yeah, so
I mean, even Max stayed out though for extra time. He stayed out on those mediums. And I mean, because it was we had so many people DNF and it was all sorts of different times.
Yeah.
It felt like there was 75 starts, rolling starts, standing starts.
A couple, sure.
There's a lot of starts yesterday, but
no red flags.
Yeah, which I think is another thing that was open for discussion.
Because there was 3 cars broken down at the same time with
driving through the pit lane, all sorts of stuff.
Well,
should have just been red flagged.
So I get what they were saying. So they were saying keep the cars moving to keep the water to dry the track up. Okay, that makes sense. Sure. However, 3 different vehicles, 3 different emergency vehicles, all going out there, people on those tracks. People still went off behind the safety car. There was still issues. You know what I mean? So I think that was a little bit of a safety concern. I think maybe one red flag should have happened for that particular incident. Maybe the other ones, they could have just kept it as a safety car. But yeah, it was a little odd. I was surprised by Aston Martin. I think they did pretty good.
I know. And there was listen, there's always a lot of discussion around Stroll. There's always a lot of things to say. But I think going in this weekend, Aston Martin was not feeling good.
I thought they were the second worst team.
Yeah, they were not looking good. I mean, Alonso was clearly not happy in post-practice interviews. He's like, I don't have anything to say. I don't know why we're even here. The engine's on, the brakes work, and the gears are shifting. That's all.
Angry on the walkie, on the mic. There was a little bit of tension there in practice for sure. So I was a little surprised that, I mean, again, we had 14 drivers finish. So the odds of being in the top 10 were a lot greater.
Yeah.
And with all the incidences that kind of happened near the end there, Stroll lucked out. They obviously made the right call with him and he was able to get a decent amount of points.
Yeah.
I
mean, P6.
P6.
Yeah. Crazy.
I mean, pretty crazy.
Williams. We need to talk about Williams.
Yeah, we should talk about Williams because you're right. Because right off the jump of the weekend,
I mean, listen,
they were top in the especially Carlos.
Carlos was quickest in testing.
Yeah, I would have liked him to see that finish the race,
which means nothing. We know that. We know testing means nothing, but Carlos was quickest.
Yeah.
And then we come into the race that last year, they didn't even have 2 cars to be able to compete. 2 drivers. There was both of them, we had Logan Sargent at this time in Australia last year. Their mechanics he's retired, which is so crazy. But the mechanics were working overtime last year. And then this year, both drivers get into Q3.
Yeah.
One Williams, again, out qualifying both Ferraris.
Yeah, I think this year Williams is going to be a tough team. They're going to be right there. I think James Valls has really turned that team around.
Yeah.
They got a new title sponsor.
Yep.
That means more money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think with the top look.
I mean, Carlos brought a lot of sponsorship with him too.
And I think people keep Carlos underrated. I think I have a high value of Carlos. I don't know why he keeps getting the boot out of he's been to 5 different teams. He's one of the only drivers on the grid that has used and been part of every single engine that's been on the grid since he's been part of Formula One. So he has the most experience with every single engine.
Yeah.
He knows how multiple teams different work. So he understands how to like reinsert himself as the new guy in the new program, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like he's a really good driver. He's a son of a world champion. I think he's really good.
I know, and his dad apparently wasn't happy that he didn't take the Audi deal.
Yeah, well, that's because his dad has probably vested interests with the Audi.
Well, yeah, he's an Audi driver.
Yeah.
So
he was also a Red Bull driver too, and that's
Yeah.
probably how he got Carlos got the Red Bull seat.
Carlos is definitely underrated. I mean, when you think about it, back to like obviously the dominant season that Red Bull had 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was the only other driver that won a race.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, listen, I think that we know that Carlos didn't want to leave Ferrari, but Ferrari would have been happy if Lewis chose to stay at Mercedes and didn't make this like big change. And, you know, so it's like that bittersweet thing. But I think definitely like we were saying with Yuki having a little bit of a revenge era, I feel like Carlos like came in and was like, I need to really prove myself.
Yeah.
And I mean, he was like,
right from the jump, just
immediately
just ready to go. And most time we give drivers the benefit of the doubt. Like we're giving Lewis a couple of weeks to get kind of Hamilton. He's later,
but the majority of people aren't.
No, I know, but like you got to kind of give some of these drivers a minute to get into the team. Like
they've never experienced. I mean, any of the drivers with new teams have never experienced driving the car in a wet situation. Like Carlos even said that. So.
Yeah. But I mean, again, he's a really good driver. I wish he would have been able to finish. I would have liked to see where he finished, considering where Albon finished. What, 5th?
Mm-hmm.
So I think he would have been right there in the mix. I think
it's very promising for Williams. I mean, I think a lot of the top teams were like, Williams is like, they're right there. They're like best of the rest. They're gonna be competing in the top 4. Carlos was very like apprehensive, like before coming into the season, saying, we're not going to be getting podiums. Like, we're not going to be getting wins. Like, I don't think they're at the place where they're going to potentially be getting wins. But if we can gauge this season based on anything with today, or
points are for sure on the board
this weekend.
And
absolutely.
Maybe 3rd, maybe 2nd is on the board.
Yeah, I mean, we could see some podiums.
We could.
I
totally
think Williams, it's exciting to see. I mean, obviously we know they've been a winning team.
Mm-hmm.
So, are they going to be in contention in the new era next year? So we'll see. They've got a great driver lineup. We know that.
They do.
So
we've already talked a little bit about Yuki, but I kind of want to bring him up again. Because it's kind of, for me, it's a hot ticket item. Like,
we love Yuki.
He did good. He qualified well.
Yeah.
He had
I think he was one of the drivers that didn't make the right decision this weekend.
Not make the right decision.
Why he's in the position, because he was running in front of Albon the whole race. And him and the Ferraris didn't choose the right path. That's the way the cookie crumbles.
It is. And that's team strategy.
Mm-hmm.
That's drivers not being assertive and all kinds of things. However, I think if he continues the trend of doing well in this new car of the Racing Bull, I don't know how much longer Liam Lawson really has. I'm going to be honest, because I think that Yuki deserves that seat. If the way Liam Lawson...
Are you saying like a driver swap? Like,
oh, yeah. I think totally.
Yeah, I think we'll see. I mean, because even when Liam was keeping it on track, like, he was slow. He was slow. And I get it. Red Bull was running 2 different, front wings.
Sure.
But still, it's like, okay, I just, at the end of the day, I feel conflicted personally on how Liam got the seat over Yuki. Because this is now the 7th race in a row since last year that Yuki's out-qualified Liam. And So it's just, I don't really understand Red Bull's thought process. I'm on the same page as Zach Brown, who Zach Brown put it well, and some people are like, he needs to just worry about his own stuff. Papaya rules, this and that. But he did say, Yuki had a great race, great qualifying, obviously putting the car in the position that he did. And he should be in the seat, but Red Bull makes some questionable decisions,
Yeah.
So Zach is one to speak his mind, I think, when it comes to Red Bull.
Well, okay. So speaking of papaya, speaking of Zach, there was a little bit of team rules that happened in the race today, right? Oscar was within DRS.
Half a second
or so, and all of a sudden you hear team orders kind of, hey, stay behind, hold your position, things like that. And then because there was a little bit of back markers, they were starting to lap some of the people in the back, right? So that kind of came out, and then they passed one of the back markers, and Oscar put a tire in the dirt or in the rocks or whatever you want to call it, and kind of got about 2 seconds behind. And then all of a sudden you hear on the radio, you're free to race. So I think that's a little iffy on that scenario.
Yeah.
Like, why wasn't he allowed to race when he was within the half second?
I know. Yeah, I mean, it's his home race.
It was his home race.
He qualified P2. I think that, there was obviously I had a little bit of a tougher start, so he was in that position. But the McLarens clearly were the faster cars, so it should have been a 1-2. Obviously the rain threw in a whole nother factor, but they've been very vocal as a team about the fact that they do not have a number one driver, that both of them are treated equally,
right, until it starts to get determined.
Until some decision needs to be made. And then they decide. And they've made some weird decisions in the past, last season, and so I think they're still trying to understand and navigate that. But that was a strange moment.
It is, especially the fact that Oscar just signed a new contract, being paid pretty much the same amount of money,
allegedly more.
Allegedly, yeah. Who knows? Because we never get to see drivers' contracts. Yes. Nobody really ever knows. It's all alleged money. 50 million, 20 million, 5 million. We never really know. So I think it's kind of weird. Let's move on from that. Let's talk a little bit about Mercedes. They are the top team right now.
No, well, they're tied. So McLaren, McLaren and Mercedes are tied. But I think from a team standing, when you look at both drivers, they had the best weekend.
They did.
Because they were P3 and P4.
Yeah.
Whereas McLaren was P1, getting the most points there, but Oscar was P9.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And then I would say, almost every other team, only one driver finished, with the exception of Ferrari and Haas.
Yep.
So, I think Mercedes, are they back?
I think their car looks okay.
I feel like we've been saying that for the last 3 years. Is Mercedes back?
I think they made the right calls to pit at the right time. They're in the right position. I think for the whole entire race, when it was just normal racing and the track was drying and things were just kind of happening, George Russell was by himself in fourth.
Yeah.
Kind of in the lonesome, I think he was 30 seconds or something like that behind the front three, because it was, the two McLarens kind of pulling away. And then Max was kind of 4 seconds behind, 5 seconds behind. Right. And they were way up the road compared to where Lewis was 45 seconds, 50 seconds behind.
Listen, I think this race is obviously being discussed as it was so crazy. It was so crazy. Honestly, it was kind of boring for a little bit.
A little bit.
And it was nobody was within DRS. Lewis was the only one that was within DRS, but everybody else was maybe the McLarens, because they were, both quick and fast, but nobody else was really within that 1 second.
No, you're right. It was mostly Lewis when you looked at the timesheets that you were able to see, not on
TV,
not on the live broadcast, but if you were able to go see the sheets, Lewis was really the only one once they kicked in DRS, he was the only one that was within the second, kind of making moves, making things happen.
Yeah.
Still a little bit of an issue with them. He couldn't get by anybody. He didn't make any passes. There was really only one or two good passes the whole entire race. Kimi Antonelli had a good one
Mhm.
earlier in the race.
Yeah.
And that was like the one and only. And then after that was when kind of like things started happening. It was
Yeah.
rain was starting to fall. People were on some
Mhm.
slick tires, and people were on
It was like a mixed bag of stuff that was like
on
happening.
intermediate. So there was kind of different tire variations, and the rain was falling. So
Yeah.
it was either no grip or grip, So I was entertained when it was entertaining. Yeah, there was a brief moment of boring, and it was like, oh my God.
I'm like, oh my God, do something.
Or just gonna pull away.
It's 2 a.m. I'm like, oh, I want to see some crazy.
We're getting close to the pit window, because that's the thing about intermediates is once you go on that tire, you don't necessarily need to pit anymore. You don't need to change any tires. You could run that tire till it becomes a slick.
Yeah,
right. We've seen that before too.
Exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, I think overall it was an exciting race, of course, but speaking to Mercedes in general, like I think George is like a steady Eddie. Like if like are you familiar with that term?
Not really.
So like steady Eddie is like someone who's they're just like there, like granted, I'm like George, I think makes some questionable decisions sometimes, but when he's in a position where he qualifies well, like I think he has like probably PTSD from some of his like opening starts to races where some crazy shits happened. And I thought that there was going to be something crazy between him and Max because they were lining up together, but it was super clean.
It was clean.
All things considered.
All the way through it was clean.
Yeah. Nothing crazy. And, I think he just was like in that position, like we're not fast enough to compete with Max and not necessarily Red Bull. Like you talk about teams, you talk about Max Verstappen, you don't talk about Red Bull. Like it's
everyone else's teams and
then it's Max Verstappen. Yeah. So, I think he's like, I'm not quick enough to get there. Whoever, who was behind him, obviously it was Yuki Tsunoda. So it's like, Yuki's not quick enough to catch up to a Mercedes, unfortunately. And so it just created all these gaps. And then we've seen Alex Albon like defend like his life depends on it before versus Lewis, and Lewis could not get past him. So, but I think the drive definitely, and I know he wasn't driver of the day, was Kimi Antonelli from P17 to P4.
Yeah, that was big.
I mean, that's impressive. Granted, we know
a little bit of luck, a little bit of right strategy, other drivers getting DNF'd, right? So yeah, everything kind of went their way.
But what I will say is like, obviously during qualifying, like he kind of had the shit end of the stick because that first lap, he like broke the like undercarriage of his car.
Yeah, the underbody,
was losing all this time. And so I think this qualifying was definitely not a true reflection because in practice he was doing pretty well. Mm-hmm. And so I think he feels comfortable in the car, clearly. And he looked good. He was the rookie of the weekend.
Rookie of the weekend. Like I said earlier in the podcast, he finished 4th. First race ever. Mm-hmm. When Lewis did that, he finished 3rd. So really right there.
He's in like a small, I think there's like 7 or 8 drivers
to ever finish
less than 10 to like score points in their opening debut.
Right. It's very few.
Yeah.
And those very few are very well-known people, well-known drivers.
Jenson Button, Lewis Hamilton, So
Schumacher, yes.
Pretty.
Yeah.
And he's, I think, the second youngest to score points.
Yes.
Obviously, Max was the first.
Yes.
So 17-something years old.
You're right. So, I mean, look, this weekend it was the kickoff. There's been so much going on. I think we could talk now about Ferrari. I think we should. I think we've waited long enough.
We're like, honestly,
She's flying a Ferrari flag out front of her house right now.
I am not okay. I think, first of all, I have so many feelings. Like, I have so many feelings about Ferrari. We are fully invested. I'm a very big Lewis Hamilton fan.
She is.
So, obviously going into the season, I think there's been a lot of excitement, a lot of like media. There's been a lot of stuff around Lewis, of course, going to Ferrari. They didn't look great in qualifying. They were set up for a wet race. That was, the reason why they felt like they didn't have the pace. And then there's just all these people that are like, oh, he's washed and he's this and he's that. And it's like, I mean, he's not. I think that, Ferrari, I've always loved Charles too. So it's exciting, I think, for me because they're the 2 drivers that, I'm like, oh, I'm going to support this season. And they're feeling really excited going into the first race. So we're all going to be really excited. Charles looked great. He was like, I'm aiming for pole. And then I don't know what happened during qualifying. It just...
Yeah. I mean, it just wasn't, the car's not quite right. I think the car, you kind of hear them talking, it's not really balanced quite right. I think they kind of had the car set up more for rain in qualifying than maybe other teams. I think they were planning more heavier rain for the race than maybe what it really was too. Because it kind of dried out and it was time to become a dry race. And then it rained for like 3 laps and then it dried out again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just think they're not quite as good of a car as McLaren. It's not balanced as well. Lewis is about 2/10, 3/10 right behind.
Yeah, no, I think Lewis got better all weekend.
He did.
And, at the end of the day, like he qualified right behind Charles. So I'm like, it is what it is. Like I think it's a combination of like probably car setup, which Charles said, combination of, Lewis is definitely questioning his own confidence during the race. And then just a poor strategy decision at the end. Like, and for those of you that have been Ferrari fans, diehard Ferrari fans, like, welcome all the Lewis fans to the pain. But it's one race and it's one weekend, and I'm sick of people like flipping out and like it's over. It's not over. I mean, McLaren wasn't doing great at the start of last season.
Nope, and they brought it on.
And they brought it back and they delivered and they were Constructors champions. So it is what it is.
I still think Ferrari is the best team on paper. I think they have the 2 best drivers.
Yeah, and I think that, you'd hear a lot from the team principals. I mean, Toto, I think Zach said the same thing, and I don't know, I think probably James said the same thing. Like, we can't compare this weekend's performance to what Ferrari is fully capable of. Like, this was not a true reflection. So, we'll see. These next 2 races, I think, is kind of where we're at. But, overall, like, there was a lot of speculation, I think, going into this first race weekend, like what's going to happen. And, that's the other thing is it's like there's so much hype because Lewis is obviously now at Ferrari that it's like everything that he does. Like, he fucking ate a bagel this morning, and this is the first time Lewis has ate a bagel in red before. I'm like, okay, let's relax. Like,
all right.
So I think that obviously adds in a whole nother piece to it, but.
Well, yeah.
Listen, I'm not writing them off. I'm fully vetted.
Yeah.
I'm fully vetted. Like you said, we've got a Ferrari flag flying out front. We didn't take it down because they didn't perform, that they didn't win the race. We're not doing that. So we're standing behind it. I know a lot of people, like I'm sure are sad after this weekend. We are too. I woke up this morning like, oh my God, I can't believe what happened, but it's fine. Things will bounce back.
They will. Mostly, I was happy with the race. I was happy with the overall weekend. I thought it was exciting. I thought there was a little bit to be seen.
Yeah.
I think we kind of know that definitely McLaren is the top dog, top team.
Mm-hmm.
Their car looks
really,
really good.
Yeah.
You kind of heard some other people talk about, you hear George Russell say that they're already planning their new car for the new season. They're already coasting.
No, he's saying they could. But here's the thing.
He also said last season.
Exactly. I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Last season, he was like, I wouldn't be surprised if Red Bull wins every race.
And they almost did.
Well, 2 years ago. Yeah. But like, it is what it is. Like, I think it's easy to say that at the beginning of the season, but I mean, every race weekend, teams are bringing upgrades and upgrades and upgrades.
No, and it's the last year of this era style car with these engine mods. So all the teams should be very much near the point of the knife, very much at the top, and be able to figure out exactly what's wrong with their cars here soon. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not wrong about that. I think you said your driver today was Kimi. I think you said that. Mm-hmm. I think that's fair to say. I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
I would agree. I think he was going from all the way back there to,
And being a rookie, like I think factoring that into, like a lot of people, feel like Lando wins driver of the day a lot.
Yeah.
It was a great weekend from him too. Like I think
Lando made some mistakes too, but his mistakes were okay because other drivers that were anywhere close to him were also making
mistakes. Well, yeah, and it was the time that they were getting ready to like switch tires. So that's, I think, the reason that the mistakes happened with both McLaren.
I'm sure Kimi probably made a mistake out there. I didn't get to see every single second of his race, right?
Yeah.
But, but the performance of being able to go from where he started to where he finished, rookie, first drive, yeah, absolutely agree.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to talk about now Drive to Survive,
Okay.
because we haven't been on here in a while. Drive to Survive just dropped recently, right?
It did last weekend.
It did.
Okay.
We binged it in like a day and a half or so.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? What's your take?
I mean, listen, like I have a lot of feelings about it because it gets a lot of hate. It really does. And it gets hate from people like us who love Formula One, who've watched the season, and people are expecting it to be a complete depiction of what the season was from the
Right.
previous
Yeah. From like time frame from beginning to end the same. Right.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's not what it is. It's not a documentary. They're not, going race by race through. And I think that they definitely missed some things, some drama that could have probably been added in, like the Max and George drama. Like, would have loved to like see like inside the room, like when they were like talking shit to each other.
Yeah.
But, I think overall they do a good job. Like, it's entertaining. Like, I'm not going to focus on the little details of how they're cutting things together. Like, oh my God, they made it look like Lando only won by like 1 second when he really won by like 10 seconds.
I mean,
like,
he only won by less than a second today.
calm down. Like, oh my God, he's wearing the hat from Zandvoort, like Max, in the cool down room, and they cut it into the Miami cool down. Like, relax.
I know.
Like, it is what it is. Like, that's great because trust me, I'm picking it apart too. Like, oh my God, like that's definitely not what happened. Like, oh, the big debacle about George winning, he was actually disqualified. They didn't say that, like, but at the end of the day, it's pure entertainment. We're watching the season regardless. We know what happened. This is like how a lot of people got into the sport.
A lot of people, and it's also for people that aren't really adamant in the sport, and to like hopefully keep
understand it.
Bringing in the base, or like, it's all drama. It's for television. It is a TV show. Yeah. They're gonna cut and paste and make things look a little bit more dramatized than maybe what they really are. And maybe they did miss a couple of the real dramas, but maybe the real dramas weren't television worthy. I don't know.
Yeah. I know.
I'm assuming that.
We're also like, we want more like real stuff. We want this, but then when they filmed with the drivers that obviously in Singapore, and George was like having a panic attack, allegedly, like behind doors.
It was too much. It was too
Then
close.
it was too much. And it's like, okay, like we just find anything to complain about, I think, at the end of the day. But I think overall, we're always super excited for Drive to Survive. Like, it's a great buffer right before the season starts. Like, oh, let's recap on last year. But, I think they did a good job. I loved the ending with Toto's message that he recorded to Lewis at the end of last season.
You asked me, was this written by a PR or was this written by him?
Right.
Because he probably read it a few times, right?
I'm sure. And I'm sure it probably was written by PR.
Yeah.
But I liked how they tied it in, and they were like, doing obviously like the montage with the new drivers coming in, and you got to have a team behind you, all that stuff. So I thought that was a cool way to kind of like close it out.
Yeah. I enjoy it. I like anything that shows more behind the scenes of the sport that we love.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Any more camera angles, anything more like that, it just makes it, to me, it's more personal. It puts us in there more.
Yep.
It really opens up the fact that these drivers are they're young guys for the most part. I think the average age is probably in the high 20s, low 30s. And I think that's only, I think it's only skewed because two of them are in their 40s.
Yeah.
So if those two weren't there, I think, it would even be lower.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good look into their lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
They're all really good people compared to, I say this a lot in the real world to a lot of friends and people and coworkers and things, like you follow the same type of athletes that are in NFL or in the NBA, and they're not nearly as nice. Now, maybe this is all on television too, who knows, but I think that they are way more humbler. They're more worldly because they travel the world for this thing. And it's not, they have to think they're the best, but they don't have the arrogance of saying that they're better than everybody else, I think.
I mean, a lot.
If that makes sense. Is that making sense? I don't.
The reigning 4-time world champion would do no PR for his entire existence and would gladly not be famous because he just loves driving.
Yeah.
And
He likes
so
sim driving,
he-
yeah.
You know, like he's great. And I think he deserves to have a little bit of chip on his shoulder when comments are made about like, oh, like he's like, they're just jealous of me, you know, like stuff like that. But you don't see him out there like, you know, spending his money and acting like a hooligan or being like cocky or whatever. He is out there and he does it on the track.
Yeah, and not to say that they necessarily don't, and not to say that the history of Formula One hasn't had those guys,
Of course.
right? You know, but like,
Yeah.
I example is Kansas City football team, right? The Kansas City Chiefs postseason. I can tell you article of guys that are just being arrested after the fact. Professional athletes being arrested for X, Y, and Z. All kinds of things. We don't really see that with Formula One drivers that much.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that.
They also don't have to like meet a weight requirement and like, you know, like drive inside of a car with an engine tied to your back. Like,
Well, yeah.
you know, there's a lot of different things. Like people are like, oh, well, you guys just love to watch cars drive around in circles.
I do.
That's not what is happening, but okay, to each their own.
You're right.
You know, but still, I think that, and to your point, I do love everything that, you know, we can see additional insight. Like I loved Charles saying, we're the Kardashians of Formula One. Like I thought that was funny. You know, you get a little bit of those funny moments that you see that you don't get to follow during a race weekend. So I think that's why we like Drive to Survive is like, you know, we saw Charles, his card get declined. And he's
driving around in a Ferrari.
Oh, insufficient funds. And then he gets in his custom Charles Leclerc 16 Ferrari and drives away from the freaking, you know, grocery store. So, you know, I think those are kind of the moments that
It's funny.
it makes you laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I agree. You know, like I said, I think that those are all good things. I think it's been nothing but success for them.
I mean, look at all the
brand.
Look at all the additional shows that have come up since. I'm always like, oh, is this the tennis Drive to Survive?
Yeah.
Oh, is this the basketball?
But unfortunately, some of the tennis one was canceled.
Well, they're not all going to make it.
No, I know. And viewership between the season one of like the golf one and the second one has gone down a little bit. And I think even in Drive to Survive,
viewership has gone down a little bit too.
Sure.
So
that's to be expected as well because it is what it is. That's normal stats for most parts of these kind of shows, for Netflix shows.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Unless it's, you know, you're the banger show, the Stranger Things that everybody goes right to. Right. Other than that, you're gonna lose viewership. But it's happened on my show. Yeah, it happens.
I think it gets more people into the sport. We've definitely seen, obviously, in the U.S. Like, you know, Formula One has grown a lot.
Yeah.
We've got the Formula One movie coming out. We saw the trailer.
I'm excited for that one. That one.
I think the drivers all saw the trailer.
I like the new trailer too.
Well, yeah, that's the official trailer.
Yeah, I like that one.
And so I think for people who don't watch Formula One, like I think this is going to be a great insight into it. Obviously, like it's the Top Gun, you know, Maverick.
Yes. And that's funny as you say that is like I was telling some coworkers, I'm like, look, man, like this Formula One movie's coming out in the summer here. It's going to be good. It's same production company. Jerry Bruckheimer is the one that did
Hans Zimmer.
Hans Zimmer is me with the music.
Produced by Lewis. Like he's obviously providing, you know, real feedback into it. And Brad Pitt is the star. Like,
I mean, they shot it just like they did Top Gun. So cameras. I mean, I know we all know if you follow Formula One, their cameras are already in the car, right? So you already get a whole bunch of different angles.
Yeah.
However, for the movie, cameras have been upgraded, things like that, and it is going to be stunning. I am really excited.
The trailer looks good. I think, you know, it definitely got me excited, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
I feel like it's coming out probably during summer break, which is going to be great for Formula One fans because you'll have a little bit of things, kind of like Drive to Survive, to like pass the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
I am too. Well, we have been talking for a while now.
Yes.
I think we could keep talking, and I'm sure we missed some things. And if we have, please drop them in the comments below. Let us know what we've missed, what you guys enjoyed, things like that. I'm curious. I know you're probably curious. And there was one more thing I don't think we said, that it is her birthday today.
Oh, it is, yeah.
And if you could wish her a happy birthday, that'd be fantastic.
I was able to celebrate my birthday with the first race of the season, which is very exciting.
Yeah.
So,
well, happy birthday, Eileen.
thank you.
Yeah. I don't know what else we can talk about. I'm sure we missed something.
The only thing we missed, and I would feel sad if I didn't say it, is I had mentioned earlier that obviously we went into this weekend assuming that Stake was going to be the worst team.
Yeah.
And they are currently with 6 points as a constructor
ahead.
and they're ahead of Ferrari.
They are ahead of Ferrari by 1 point.
More points this one race than they scored the entire 24 races last year.
Yeah, so they're already on a good foot.
They are starting off strong.
You're right.
So
We didn't really talk much about them.
I think Hulk is, he's a great driver. He's still saying he's not 100% comfortable with the car. So
which is to be expected.
We'll see more from him. But I definitely think wow, that was kind of like a shocker to start off.
Okay. Yeah.
So.
You're right. We didn't really talk much about that.
That's my final thought for the day.
Okay, good. Like I said, if you guys have any more thoughts about what we've missed, please, I would love to talk about it more online. This is the first of many to come for the new season.
Yes.
I thank you guys for watching. If you guys made it this far, if you haven't already, please like, subscribe. That's it for me. Anything else from you, Eileen?
Nope, just happy to be back.
Yeah.
Here we go.
All right. See you guys in 1 week time. We'll be in China.
Yeah.
It's going to be another early one for us in the United States.
Yes. We just have to get through the next 2 races of really late nights, early mornings, but they're really late nights for us. And then the rest of the season is definitely easy breezy, beautiful cover girl for us.
Yeah, we can manage. All right. Well, yeah, I guess that's it. That's it for me.
Yep.
That's it for you.
We'll see you next time.
See you. Bye.